All right.
Are we live? Are we live? We're
We're
like somebody's
live.
grandparents trying to figure out how to use... Did I hit the record button?
Hey guys, I'm Kelly Price. This is Charlie Sokaitis. We are going to talk some football. We have Friday Night Lights are back tonight. We've got your full slate of, not college football, high school football. High school football coming up tonight. The games we're going to go cover, our game of the week is going to be Kimberly at Fond du Lac. We're also going to cover Green Bay West at Xavier, Hortonville and Appleton West, Menominee and Oshkosh North. Little Shoot at Freedom and Seymour. Seymour, is that how you say it? At Green Bay East.
So we'll have all the highlights in the Friday Night Blitz. You'll want to make sure the whole second half of the news tonight at 10 will turn into nothing but high school football. But we're not here to really talk just about the high school kids. Tomorrow, the big game, we're going to see the Packers in Washington, and that's what we're here to do. Kelly's been off the last couple of days, so I'm going to have her ask questions. I'm going to answer since I've been around talking to the guys. So, Kelly, what do you got?
So, first of all, obviously, we had the game last week against Philadelphia. What do we need to see differently from the Green Bay Packers this week?
A couple of things that you're going to want to pay attention to, folks. Tackling. That's something that was a problem in that first game. It's something that is sort of expected to be a problem sometimes in game one because in preseason or in training camp, they don't tackle to the ground. They're not allowed to. It's part of the rules. So when they get to that first game, you're knocking the rust off. Clay Matthews joked this week that he sort of let Carson Wentz go just to help out the rest of the defense. But he says he'll be ready to take quarterbacks to the ground by the regular season. What we'd like to see is some of those quarterbacks going to the ground in this next game in Washington and see how the tackling does. That would be a big area of emphasis, I think, on the defensive side of the ball. Just finishing plays and not giving up yards after contact.
I'm sure the missed tackles were a concern for fans, but something fans also are interested in is seeing Aaron Rodgers. Are the Packers fans going to see Aaron Rodgers this week, do you think?
Well, here's what I can tell you. Aaron Rodgers did take some snaps with the ones more than he did the week before leading up, so there's a chance maybe he gets a series in, but if you look at Mike McCarthy's history, I would lean towards no. Won't be shocked if he's out there just a little bit, but I suspect that they'll hold him off until that third game.
And then we had some thoughts from Ted Thompson and from Mike McCarthy and some of the players as well about the national anthem protests that are kind of going on around the NFL. Yeah. What did you hear from them, and what did they say that maybe stuck out?
Well, it was interesting. First, Coach McCarthy talked about how at the beginning of the year, at the beginning of training camp, they bring the whole team in, they run them through this PowerPoint presentation about why the national anthem is important to those that it's important to. They go through the history of it, how they started doing the anthem at games after World War II. So they get them all the information. However, when Ted Thompson, the general manager, spoke, he also came out and said, he believes it's a free country. Whether a guy does or does not stand, that's up to the players. He also says he's able to divorce himself from whether a guy stands or not and whether or not they think he's a player that should be on this team. He doesn't let those two things get clouded. It wouldn't be the kind of thing that makes him make a decision one way or another. So they obviously feel it's important, but they also respect the rights of the players to make those decisions on their own. And I think that was a pretty diplomatic way to put it out there.
Definitely a hot button topic. Well, God, we've got a lot of comments here.
What do we got?
We've got some highs. Hello, Osti and Wendy. You say hello. So hello to you guys. Jerry says go Freedom, so you'll have to watch those highlights later today. Wendy says go Pack go, and so does Kenneth with some green and gold hearts there. Kenneth also says DePere in the house.
Well, does anybody have any questions about the Packers? Before we get to your questions, I can talk a little bit about what's going on in the running back situation, because I do think that that's going to be something to pay attention to this week. Last week, the running game was largely stymied, but they didn't really focus on it after a couple of plays. They sort of went away from that. I think this week they're going to try to really establish the run with Montgomery, with Williams, with all three of those rookies, because I think they need to see what they've got there. So you're going to see, in my opinion, a lot more emphasis on getting yards on first and second down with those guys, see who can maybe perhaps stand out as somebody that can win a spot, because really, even though Montgomery is listed as the top guy, there is some questions of whether Jamal Williams may jump up and get some of those reps, or if it'll be a 50-50 split, or what the deal is going to be there. So really paying attention to how much they work the running game tomorrow. That's something that I think is a real area to watch going forward for this team.
And earlier this week, actually, Jamal Williams was taking the first team reps because Ty Montgomery was out with a
soft tissue injury, I believe.
Yeah, tissue injury. What, is he going to be playing this weekend, do you think?
You know, it's tough to tell when guys are injured in the preseason. They're usually cautious, but hopefully we see him out there. We'll have to wait until tomorrow to see.
All right. Let's see if we have anything. Osty says, Charlie, can you please have Mike come on early, around 7 to 9, so he doesn't have to rush? I don't know what that means. Mike McCarthy? I don't know what that means.
Yeah, I have no idea what you're talking about.
I don't know. Are we going to have a run game this year, Kenneth asks. So
I think that there's going to be a run game, but I think it is very much going to be a run game that is supplemented by the pass. Mm-hmm. Like, in years past, when you have a guy like Eddie Lacy, who's a big bruising back, you can give it to him and feed him and feed him. I think the run game is going to be something that is set up by the pass as opposed to having the pass set up by the run game. And that's sort of an effect of what happens when you have Aaron Rodgers as your quarterback. But what's going to be really interesting is the tight ends and how they affect the run game. Martellus Bennett, for all the stuff he can do offensively, is a great blocker. So I think that's going to really affect their no huddle, because they're going to be able to go from having 3 wide receivers, Bennett in blocking and giving it to either Ty or Jamal or whichever one of those backs is winning the job at the time and run, to then being able to split Bennett out, split Ty out, and then have 5 guys, and they don't have to change any of their sets. So they're going to have a lot of options that can really frustrate a defense, and I think that that's where they're going to get the most out of their run game, is just the flexibility of what they can do with it.
And Kenneth also wants to see the defense getting better. He says he can't wait to see the defense get better.
Well, I think the defense is going to be better this year. What we just have to wait and see is who's healthy when we get to week 1, because right now we've got a couple of guys that are injured. Neither of the guys that got concussed this last week will be playing on Saturday, so that's something to keep an eye on. How long they're out, how long they're in the protocol is a thing to pay attention to, because with concussions it can be a couple days, it can be a week, or like last year we saw with Sam Shields, after week 1 he was gone for the season. So you gotta pay attention to the severity of those things. It matters.
Is there any new injuries that Packers fans need to know about going into this game from practice this week?
Not from this week. Well, Josh Jones. Josh Jones banged up his ankle. He got stepped on. So we'll have to see. I don't know that he's going to actually play this week or not. And he's a guy that's really exciting. It's not something that's going to keep him out long term. He just took a cleat to the ankle, which is not a lot of fun. So that's where I think we are with Jones.
Yeah, I remember seeing them get the Neosporin out for that one from the little training cart.
Yeah,
I was like, he's got stepped on. He didn't roll his ankle, he got stepped on.
That's when you're looking at your teammate and you're like, really? Thanks.
On, man. Well, if you guys don't have any more questions, I guess we'll wrap this thing up. We'll have full Friday Night Lights kind of coverage tonight. Obviously, the Packers game tomorrow, we'll have complete coverage of that as well, pregame and postgame.
And remember, for the postgame tomorrow, we will have a full hour of coverage. We're going to get sound from the podium from that game. We'll be breaking down some of the things that we see in the contest right here in studio. Well, not right here. The studio's that way.
You don't want to see us.
So we'll be breaking that down, and you'll want to tune in for that as well. So it'll be me, Kelly, Chris Barrier as well. But for now, I'm Charlie Sokaitis with Kelly Price, keeping you connected for NBC 26.
Now I gotta end it.